Click the link in the description for your free Amsoil catalog. Before we get started, I'd like to give a quick shout out to some of our friends. The Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. Search for them on Facebook. Central Minnesota Pond Racing. Search for them on Facebook. The historic Lancaster Motel for the ultimate Eastern trail riding adventure. Crane's Snowmobile Museum at 172 Main Street in Lancaster, New Hampshire. The Vintage Snowmobile Club of America Quarterly Magazine. The Bridge Street Garage Racing Team, the house racing team of the Vintage Snowmobile Podcast. The New Hampshire Snowmobile Museum at Bear Brook State Park in Allenstown, New Hampshire. And lastly, if you decide to advertise with the Vintage Snowmobile Podcast, this could be your advertising message. Good evening and welcome to the podcast. I'm really glad you're here. I have a robust lineup of vintage snowmobile entertainment on tap for you tonight, including a couple of live guests who we will bring on in just a moment. But before we get into all of that, I want to make sure that everything is working properly. So if you can see my face and hear my voice, I'm going to ask you to leave a comment. Let me know where you're viewing this from and whether you are a first-time viewer or a regular viewer. You know, to our first-time viewers who are popping in for the first time to spend some time with us, I hope you have a good time and that you enjoy yourself and decide to join us here each and every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, wherever you're viewing this. We simulcast, by the way, to 8 places across Facebook and YouTube. So wherever you're viewing this right now, circle back in 1 week's time, and we'll be waiting for you. To our regular viewers who are here week after week and season after season, you are the ones who make this possible. We thank you so very, very much for that. So we don't have any comments yet, but I'm assuming that everything is working properly. Please let me know if we have good video and audio, and I'm going to bring our guests on. Turn the microphones on. And we have an audio issue here. I'm getting some feedback in my ear. But how are we doing tonight, gentlemen?
Doing great, Mike. How are you?
Doing well.
Very well, Mike. Thank you. Hi, Ray. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Dan. How are you?
Very good. Thank you.
Now, Dan, we don't see, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
Can you see me now?
No.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Well, while you're getting that sorted out, I wanted to just say that our good friend who's on here every week, Rob Hilditch, he's under the weather tonight and couldn't make it, but we do have our dear friend Ray Lacasse joining us. He's going to hang out with us today. And also Dan Beauchamp is here, and he's going to be telling us some things as soon as we get this. We dropped him. And now he's back. All right, so we just need to get this video situation resolved.
I have my technical assistant just close to me here, my son Zachary. So
sure.
Hold on, I'm gonna hold it properly. I got my phone. Is that okay, or jeez, the angle?
Now, while we're working on that, I'm going to take some comments. We've got some comments that have come in. Our good friend David from Alaska Railroad says it looks and sounds great. David is a regular viewer, and we thank him so much for being here. Also, someone on Facebook says loud and clear from Sudbury, Ontario. Outstanding. Also, David from Alaska Railroad says hello to Ray and Daniel.
How's it going, bud?
Cool deal. Yeah, David has become a regular viewer, and we love having him on. He's a regular viewer not only of the Vintage Snowmobile Podcast, but of the Muscle Car Podcast that we do on Wednesday nights as well. Very cool. So glad to hear that everything's working properly. But what I think we might do to give Dan a few minutes to get this straightened out is we're going to rearrange the order of things tonight. We're going to move ahead to item number 3 and take a look at a video. This will give Dan some time to get things sorted out over there. And this is some footage I took over the summer at the VSCA Snowmobile Show, the National Snowmobile Show in Old Forge, New York, back in June. It just takes me a moment here to get that queued up. And here it is. Let's take a look.
How's it going?
Oh, hey, Mike.
Yes, you look really familiar.
Glenn Ford, I watch your show there on TV.
Oh, wonderful. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I brought my motorcycle down, so.
Do you have anything here?
Oh, inside here.
Yeah. I'd like to catch up with you.
Yeah, I'll be here all weekend.
Wonderful. Let me give you this too, by the way.
Okay, yeah.
You said Ford. What was your first name again?
Glenn.
Glenn or Glenn?
Glenn, like the
Glenn.
actor.
All right. Yes. Yes. Cool deal. Let me get you on camera for a hello. This is one of our loyal viewers.
How you doing?
I really appreciate you viewing the podcast.
Yeah, I watch
That is cool.
Yeah.
All right, man. Nice meeting you, Glenn. Sweet. Very cool. How cool is it to run into viewers of the podcast? That is very, very cool. Very cool. We got some Yamahas here. This is what, from the 90s probably? Oh, here we go. Now this is Josh Leviker's sled. I was talking to him earlier. He had to run out, but he's coming back. But this is his sled. This is a gorgeous sled. Let's look at some details on this. This is a 73 340 EXT. And the restoration took 5 years. There's 300 of these. Suspension is a factory race skid and track. The engine is a Kawasaki RX 340 quad plug with factory gear reduction and pipes. Decals are from Integ Graphics. Paint was done by Brown's Metal Mods. The owner is Josh Leviker of Turin, New York. What a gorgeous sled this is. What a piece of art. And he says it runs and drives. And these are, I think this is his father-in-law's, I think he said. And this one is his. I think the Merc might be his. I don't remember about the LT grade, but we'll go down the line here and check all of these out. I'm all about cats, so I'm not going to skip any cats, especially something as nice as this. And in case you're just joining us, we're at the VSCA National Vintage Snowmobile Show in Old Forge, New York. If you're in the area, come on by. We just checked into the 19th Green Motel right in the main drag in Old Forge, and they still have some vacancy. We were very pleased with our room. We just checked in an hour or so ago. Talked to the owners, very nice people. Highly recommend them if you're coming to the area. They still have vacancy, so just look for them on a Google search. They're easy to find. The 19th Green Motel in Old Forge, New York. So if you're thinking about coming out on a wild impulse, there are places with rooms. I just named it, the 19th Green Motel. Look for them on a Google search. They'll come right up, book your room, and come on over. Join in the fun. Well, this is Josh's. Well, those dogs see those dogs. All right, that's what all the excitement's about. Yeah, this is his cross-country cat, Josh Leviker's. Now, Josh is a regular viewer of the podcast, and he and I are in pretty regular touch on Facebook. He sends me all kinds of nice images of cats, projects he's got. See if I can get a better angle of this cross country here. Oh no, Andrew Strako says, I will be there tomorrow. He's coming in from Granville, New York. Wonderful. Well, if you see me walking around, Andrew, doing video, be sure and say hi. Give me a wave on a video. Love to meet you. Oh, I love this key fob. See if I can get a better image of that. I mean, Cat had so much going on in the 70s, but one of the things that was really enjoyable was all the swag they had, all the keychains and mugs and, you know, rugs like this and clothing and more clothing. Cat really went nuts with that, and it was wonderful. Nice Mercury snow twister here. Trail twister, I'm sorry. Unrestored. Owned by Josh Levicker. Now that's unrestored. That's amazing. Look at the buttery soft seat and the tank. Everything on this is just really beautiful. Really nice shape. That's very impressive. This Altigre too. Let's take a look at this. I think this is Josh's too. When we go around the front, we'll look at the tag and we'll find out for sure. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good. So it turns out this is owned by Dave Wiedrich in Turin, New York. Now is Dave? Yeah, Dave I think is Josh's father-in-law. So it's in the family. These guys have some beautiful sleds. This is a 87 Altigre. It's a little more modern. And every bit is beautiful. Here's a Indy XCR. I'm thinking that's from the 90s. What do you guys think? Now this sled, if I understand correctly, belongs to... I'm drawing a blank on the name. Legendary... it'll come to me. Let me talk about it and it'll come to me. I'm drawing a blank on the name. Herb Yancey. This is Herb Yancey's sled, I believe. And this was a restoration done by our good friend Mark Belanger, who does excellent, excellent work. He's based out of Whitefield, New Hampshire. And if you're ever looking to have any kind of restoration work done, he is your man. He does stuff that is just uncannily beautiful. And I ran into Mark Belanger. He's here. Had a chance to visit with him for a few minutes. I assume here Herb Yancey must be here too. Yeah, it says right on the side of the sled here. Herb Yancey, legendary Eastern racer. I have not seen Herb yet, but I'm sure he's around. Yeah, what a restoration that is.
Yeah, so there you have it. I just want to get our shots lined back up. That was a good time out there at Old Forge, New York. And Josh Levicker, by the way, was on the podcast when Ray and Daniel and I think he made it a foursome when we were on last summer in August talking about some events.
Yep. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and I saw Herb Yancey at Old Forge. He was sitting on the snowmobile, and he had Ron Hall with him on the snowmobile.
Yes, they were both there.
Yeah,
and they were former teammates.
Yeah,
That
was ball back in the day.
Yes, Team Abel. And that moto ski that we were looking at won the People's Choice at that event over that weekend. He got a trophy probably as tall as he was.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
For sure. Now, Dan, I think what we're going to do, we still can hear you but can't see you. But since you've got some images that you've shared with us, maybe we can continue with the program and just let the images do the talking and along with your voice. Will that work for you?
It's perfect. But, I mean, I have here on my phone, it says that my camera is on. And in the box, it says... you're on the show. Everyone can see and hear you. So I'm unaware of what's happening.
Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on. It's been that kind of day, I think, with technology.
Not to worry.
Murphy is our co-pilot, I think.
Not to worry. Always good.
But I'll pop that first image on the screen.
Okay.
And so if you want to just start the presentation and talk this up.
Yeah. So tonight, I'd like to share with you, Mike and Ray and all the viewers and experience my good buddy Eric Foss and I had on November 4th of this year. Eric and I went to visit in Quebec City a racing legend, Gaston Ferland, or in French, Gaston Ferland. For those who are unaware or don't know who Gaston was, again, Gaston was a phenomenal snowmobile racer back, I could say from 1963 right up to 2012. So that means that Gaston raced snowmobiles for 49 years, nearly 50 years, which is absolutely phenomenal. He was part of the Ski-Doo Can-Am race team. He was with Ski-Doo from 1963 to 1973. And in 1973, he was part of the Can-Am race team that was composed of himself, Gaston Ferland, Yvan Duhamel, and Mike Trapp. After parting ways with Ski-Doo in 1973, Gaston raced Polaris snowmobiles right up until the age of 71 years old, up until the year 2012. Today, Gaston is 81 years old and is in extremely good shape. As you can see, I mean, look at him. I mean, he's got broad shoulders, and he's in very good shape for his age. He still rides a Ski-Doo, a Ski-Doo snowmobile in the winter, and has a Harley Davidson that he rides in the summer. He is also Sabrina Blanchette's grandfather, another phenomenal racer who races not only snowmobiles in the winter, but also dirt track in the summer. So just to backtrack a little bit, Eric, at the beginning of October of this year, texted me and sent me a picture of Gaston with a suit on and said, I'd love to be able to acquire Gaston Ferland's 1970 Ski-Doo racing snowmobile suit. So he asked at the same time, would you by any chance know Gaston or have any contact information? And I said, well, yeah, sure. Gaston came to our show in 2014, along with Lucien Lamoureux, another Ski-Doo racer back in the day. That same day, Mike Trapp and Yvan Duhamel were at the show, but unfortunately, both Gaston and Lucien arrived around 3 o'clock in the afternoon when most of the guys were packing up and leaving for the day. But anyway, I've spoken to him over the years. I invited him to our show, but unfortunately he said, look, I can't make it on account that Sabrina, his granddaughter, races dirt kart in the summertime, and I follow her races. And if I don't follow her races, I drive a bus for the city of Quebec part-time. So he drives, again, at the age of 81 years old, he's driving a city bus, and he drives the bus from the beginning of summer right up until the end of October. So I gave Gaston a call, and I told him that one of my good friends was interested in maybe acquiring one of his snowmobile suits. And he said, well, he says, I'm not sure which one, but I think the one you're talking about is at my son's place. And so let me just contact my son, phone me back in about a week, and I'll see what's up. So I gave him a call a week afterwards, and he said, I think the one that you're talking about is the one that's at my son's place. He brought it back. And I have other stuff that you might be interested in because honestly, I don't know what to do with it. My kids don't want the stuff. And so, yeah, I'd be interested in parting with it. So I gave Eric a call and told him that Gaston was interested. And while I spoke to Gaston, we agreed on going to his place on November 4th. So Eric comes to my place November 3rd, the Thursday, and we drive up to Quebec City the following day. We arrive at Gaston's place and we're greeted by his girlfriend, a lovely person. And she tells us, she says, well, look, Gaston is not here right now. He went to run a few errands and he'll be back in about 5 minutes. And just before arriving at Gaston's place, I told Eric, I said, Eric, from speaking with other people and speaking over the phone with Gaston, I know he's a very serious, very reserved type of person. And so, I'm not too sure how it's going to go because he doesn't speak English apparently either. I mean, people had told me that he didn't speak English. So 5 minutes after when we arrive, Gaston comes over and we receive a warm welcome, both of us. And it was as if we had known Gaston for years. He comes up, shakes our hands and pats us on the back and so on. And then he starts speaking to Eric in English. I mean, he did his best and it was good. And so whomever said, he was a serious and reserved person and that he didn't speak English, well, I don't think that they knew what they were talking about. I mean, his English wasn't perfect because you have to understand that Gaston is from a region of Quebec where it's predominantly French, and he didn't have an opportunity to speak French when he was younger. But anyway, so he shows us some of his buildings where he has stuff in them. He showed us a couple of suits. He showed us one of his capes that I acquired. That there, Mike and Ray, is 1973 Skidoo leather suit. And he told us that initially the stripes on the suit were yellow, but when he left Skidoo and raced for Polaris in 1974, they told him to take off, they took off the yellow stripes and they replaced them with white stripes and took off the Skidoo logos. So that was his leather suit in 1973. So he showed us other stuff. We went into his garage and he showed us other suits but that there is from 1970 to 1973, not only was he racing snowmobiles for Skidoo, but he was also testing Can-Am motorbikes or bikes, motorcycles, before they came into production. So those were his leathers, and that was his jersey that he tested the snowmobile, the motocross bikes with. And he tested them with another tester that, his name was Jeff Smith, who was the two-time world champion motocross racer, as well as a 6-time European motocross racer. And so you can move on and show other images of that's the cape that I purchased from from Gaston. And then Eric bought other stuff from Gaston. That's his 1973 suit when he was on the Can-Am Skidoo International team with Mike Trapp and Yvon Duhamel. And so that suit, that's one of his jackets. But the suit in question, the picture before, actually is the suit that Eric wanted, but it turned out to be a 1973 suit and not a 1970. The picture they had was not a 1970 suit. It was a suit that some company fabricated for a promotional thing that happened in Valcourt. So that is the actual 1973 suit. So the only other persons that have that suit are Sophia Duhamel, Yvon Duhamel's widow, and Mike Trapp. And I just spoke recently to Mike Trapp, and Mike Trapp does not want to part with any of his stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. So we purchased some of his suits, and then afterwards, Gaston invited us inside his house and showed us his trophies. And that's one of the trophies. That is the King Castle trophy, one of the races, and it was 1971, and he won for coming in first $52,000, and I believe it was $52,000 American back in the day, which is a lot of money, which was a lot of money back then. And then he showed us also a picture of him. That's a picture of him. If you go back, Mike, to the picture on the wall, that's a picture of Gaston when he was invited to go racing in Finland, sponsored by Skidoo. It's a 1969 TNT 669. And so it was a cross-country race. And when he went to the registration desk, they had signed him in as a juvenile. And he said, look, he says, I'm not a juvenile racer. I'm a professional racer. I've been racing professionally for 6 years. So he started off in 63 to 69 and said, you know, it doesn't make any sense you put me down as a junior or a juvenile. So he said, you know, he says, I'm a professional. I mean, but they insisted. They said, look, you're a junior or juvenile. And so he said, okay. And then that doesn't bother me. So long as I race, I'm happy. And so when he took the lead, he never looked back and he won the race. And I don't know if you have it, Mike, but he won a knife for that race. And those two gloves up there are the gloves that he was wearing when he raced that snowmobile in 69 in Finland, which is pretty awesome. He kept that. And I think I sent you a picture with a knife on it, and that was the trophy that he won for that race. I don't know if you have it in your collection of pictures.
I don't see it.
Okay, that's okay. And so,
But I do have a couple of more suits if you want to go through those before we move forward.
I could, yeah, sure.
Sure.
So that is that was one of the earlier suits. I believe it was a 1971. It was the top of the suit, and Eric purchased that day. There's an interesting one. It's got Eric shows the back of it. That is just a sweater. It says TNT on it. It was a sweater that he acquired back in the day, and he kept. Eric purchased that. That's an interesting one. Although it's in French, it says. Hold on a second. World Series, World Snowmobile Series, 1972, Malone, New York. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then I believe you might have other pictures. There's one, I think, those are just paper clippings that he had on his wall. If to the left is his 1973 suit. To the left-hand side, more to the right, the second picture, that is, I believe, a 1971 yellow suit when he was racing. There's pictures of him, and they mentioned Mike Trapp's name. You have to understand that he was one of the top racers back in the early 70s. He won quite a few races from 1970 to 1973. Lastly, I'd like to just mention, that's the X2R that established a world speed record in Boonville, New York in 1972. It was actually Yvon Duhamel that established the record at 127.3 miles an hour. But Gaston also tested and raced that snowmobile. And then you have also the Double Eagles that's Yvon Duhamel, but Gaston also had a similar snowmobile like that and tried to establish the speed record. Yvon and Gaston never established a speed record on that snowmobile, but Dwayne Eck in 1969 did establish a speed record with with one similar snowmobile like that, I believe at 95.33 miles an hour. And then lastly, you have the Inferno. The Inferno was, back in the day, like the Boss Cats and the Big Owls and those snowmobiles. And they also had Skidoo also had the X4R. They tried to fabricate a snowmobile that would exceed, records of over 100 or miles an hour and faster. But that snowmobile never raced on account that they had track issues. It was powered by two Rotax 797 engines. They were triples, and the odd thing about that snowmobile, and contrary to most snowmobiles, the engines on ordinary snowmobiles would be linked to the axle in front, the front axle, whereas the Inferno had one engine that was linked to the front axle and one engine that was linked to the back engine. And so what happened was there was too much force on the track, and at 100 miles an hour plus, the track would just disintegrate or would rip apart. And so Gaston had mentioned that day that when they were testing, they had lifted the Inferno off the ground, and they exceeded 100 miles an hour off the ground, and it just went flying. And they had put up these wooden pallets so that it would receive the track when it would fly off. And he said once the track flew off and hit those pallets, it looked like a pile of kindling or matches. He said it was so strong it disintegrated the pallets. So anyway, that is the Inferno. If you give me 2 minutes, I'll just mention quite quickly how our show went in August. The attendance was up, but again, the COVID restrictions prevented us from being able to attract more American visitors. We had the issues with the Arrive Canada application where they had to go online and so on and so forth. But since then, the Canadian government has done away with the Arrive Canada app. And so if you want to cross the border now, all you need to produce or present is your passport. And the show was great. Attendance was up. Snowmobiles were up. We had, I think it was 175 snowmobiles, beautiful snowmobiles. The warnings brought the two 1976 ski rules that were raced by both Jacques and Gilles Villeneuve back in the day, the IFS ski rule snow pros. And I don't know if you have a picture. I think I sent you a picture of them initially, Mike. But one of them has a windshield on it, and people thought, well, that doesn't belong there. And so the story is that Gilles, when he raced, would take the windshield off, but when he was practicing, testing his machine, he always had the windshield on his machines. So anyway, small anecdote.
Yeah, I don't think I have those images.
Okay.
But if I do, they didn't get uploaded today for tonight's podcast, and I apologize. But
No problem.
I would love to on a future episode have you come on, and maybe we can talk about the event, and if you have any images, video, anything like that, love to do a presentation on that.
Sure, no problem. So basically, that's it. Thank you, Mike.
Well, thank you so much. Now, anyone viewing this, if you have comments, by all means, leave them. Let's see, we've got someone. I'm going to shut your mic off for a moment, Dan, because we're getting an echo. But somebody says, Darren Lumby says, absolutely love your show. He's from Minnesota. Thank you for doing this. I've got a couple of 71 Scorpions, and I've been addicted to these things since he was 6. Very cool. Very cool. And then, of course, Jeff Wesner says, great history on Gaston. And then Rob Hilditch, let me back this up here, who's usually on this program, but he's under the weather tonight, couldn't make it. He's talking about Sabrina now, saying Sabrina, Gaston's granddaughter, is a phenomenal driver, and it's true. I'm sure we've all heard of her. And Rob continues saying, I've seen her win many races, and it's true. Who in this hobby has not heard of Sabrina? David from Alaska Railroad is saying racing at 70 plus years old, very impressive. God bless him. Absolutely. And then we've got Stacy and Art Fosler saying hello from Platte Hill, New York. They're regular viewers. And then one other comment, David from Alaska Railroad talking about the video we looked at earlier, saying they're good looking sleds. He's a huge fan of polished tunnels. Cool deal. Oh, and one more comment came in. Great history on the Ski-Doo race sleds. Outstanding. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Daniel. That is wonderful.
You're welcome.
Now we're going to move on to the next segment of the program. We're on item number 2. We moved ahead and we did number 3, but we're going to do item number 2. And I actually owe a lot of people an apology because my messages have been backing up. They're just stacked up, and I've been horrible about getting to them. I'm finally starting to get through them. So I wanted to share some of these messages that have come up. People have been sending me images and comments, things like that. This, I think, should give us all a chuckle. Anti-theft method. This is from Rich Mesielzak. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. I can't do it. Mesielzak. Maybe that was it. But that is a hilarious image. I think it's like a mid-70s cat up on a tree. I don't know how that happened. But if you know any kind of a backstory on that, Rich, we would love to hear you as how that came to be up in a tree like that. And then Todd Austin shared some really nice images with us. These are from a mid-70s trip to Yellowstone. And as I get close to the screen here, looks like there's some maybe 73, 74 TNTs in the back of that truck on the left. A couple of Harley Davidsons, maybe 74-ish, give or take, in that middle truck. And then a couple of cats in that Ford on the right. And then he's got some other images probably from that same trip. And I'm thinking this must have been 75 or 76 because see that Colt, that Polaris Colt? That's what, 75, 76 maybe? Anyone?
Looks
Ray,
like
you're-
a 75.
Okay, so it had to
Yep.
have been at least 75. And then there's one of those Harley Davidsons and those TNTs, also from the same trip to Yellowstone. It looks like they're horsing around. There must have been a sled on the left there and the exhaust, and maybe a track was spinning or something.
That's awesome.
Yeah, could love those old suits.
Yeah.
And then some more, just another angle and some early 70s. There's an early 70s Polaris there on the left. And one more from Todd. Very cool. And then I apologize, Dan, I've got your mic off, but I'm going to turn it back on. Did you have any comments of what we've been looking at here?
Those two, well, you know that I'm a Skidoo guy, so those two TNTs were either 74s or 75s because the 73 was the 73 were the silver bullets, by the way.
Sure.
Yeah, my dad had a 73 silver bullet.
What size engine, Ray?
It was a 340.
That was the good one. Yeah.
Yep.
The
Yeah,
440
nice.
had small issues. Yeah.
And there's the TNTs right there.
Yeah, that's a 440.
Very cool. And then we've also got from Jim Anderson. He's got a couple of these sleds for sale, a couple of ski whizzes. He's looking to get $2,500 each. He'd prefer to sell them as a pair. He also has a long version Massey Ferguson snow cruiser and an enclosed flow trailer. These all of these items are near Newburgh, New York, and he's got an email address there at the top of the screen. And we've got another angle of these sleds. They look like they're in really nice shape. But if you're curious about that, just send him an email. The email address, I'll read it, is andersonvideo@hotmail.com. Just send him an email, maybe put a ski whiz in the subject line so he knows what it's about. And he'll get back to you with answers to your questions about it, tell you about anything you'd like to know about those sleds. And we've got another comment that's come in. Oh, yes, Rob Hilditch, our regular guy, says he likes the old suit. Cool deal. So we are on item number 4. This is, let me remove that comment from the screen here. There we go. Item number 4. This is a gentleman who lives not too far from me, maybe about 20 minutes from me, Ray Parenteau in Derby, Vermont. He has an absolutely enviable Rupp collection. As you'll see, they're beautiful. And Ray has seen these in person and also on the podcast in previous episodes. Let's take another look at some of his collection here. He's got a 75 Free Air. Let's take a look at that.
So what we have here is another 75 Free Air chassis. The same gentleman that I acquired this one owned this one. His name was Bruce Ingerson, and he's in Ludlow, Vermont. And anyway, he showed me this guy, but he bought this one. Somebody had put this thing together, and I cleaned it up and I got it looking good, and I fixed a few of the items that I wanted correct. But what's cool about this thing is it's a conversion to a liquid. And what he had done, they put a Zenoa liquid engine in it. And this would be the conversion, proper gas tank exchange versus this one here, which is that little one, this 5-gallon gas tank. So they put that in. But also, this thing runs great. What they had done, they put a cooler, okay, because on a 76 liquid, the radiator would have been here in front. So how do you cool the thing? Well, underneath the seat, there's coolers that run the whole length of this tunnel. So the coolant lines run up through here and down around and loop around. So the coolers underneath the tunnel are there. I can't show you the way this sled is, but they converted it to a rubber track, not a cleated track, to a rubber track conversion. So it's got the same suspension underneath it as the 76 Nitro would have had. And when they put it together, it looks to me like all new old stock. The skid looks new to me. The track underneath it has still got the rubber...
the embossed logo and stuff?
Yeah, and the little nipples that hang off from it.
Oh, wow.
Like from a fairly new track.
When it was molded, yeah.
So I got the thing. I did put this is a seat cover that I had gotten, came from Atwood's. They're in Vermont. All you got to do is Google that up, Atwood's snowmobile parts. They did a really nice job. It's very close. The pleats are fairly close and pretty reasonable. But when I got this seat cover, I had asked him, can you do the side pad? He said, I don't have a pattern for that. I'm not saying he couldn't do it, but I'm assuming that if he wanted to make one, he'd have to, obviously they'd have to cut the foam out. I have no idea if they could ever do that embossed.
Yeah,
like that.
That would
I don't
be hard.
know how they could do that. So actually, on the others, on 3 or 4 of those guys over there, I know they do more than just Rupp's. He does. If you go on his site, you can see a lot of his stuff they do, and they do an excellent job. So that's where this seat cover came from. So anyway, I went ahead and I cleaned the carburetors, got it running. He had some aftermarket gauges on the thing, and I put Rupp gauges on it. And then I took the skis down, and they're not re-chromed. I took them down to performance powder coating, and I had them powder coated on aluminum color there, so they would match. And this hood that is on this guy is the hood that actually came on this sled here.
Oh, really? Yeah.
This hood was on this sled, but I wanted this one to be over the top, and the hood that came on this guy was, no disrespect to whoever painted it, but it was hideous, and it had all the gel coat cracks everywhere.
Wow.
And it had flames painted on it, and it was kind of the wrong color red. So this is the conversion I did here. So I ended up with this here. This will make a nice trail sled. I haven't tried it out yet. I acquired it at the end of winter. I got it running, and like I said, I went through the thing, and I'm looking forward to giving it a whirl. And some of these things I have, in my mind, I'm like, I don't know. Somebody comes along, wants to own it, they might own it, but right now I just like looking at them.
Yeah.
So
they're easy on the eyes, that's for sure. I want to get a shot of those gauges you were talking about. Cool. Yeah, but continue. You were saying?
No, it's just so that's how you end up with two 75 FAs. I go down and I purchase a set of cool looking skis to put on another project, and then gentleman thinks you're in, Bruce said to me, it's pretty evident you're into this hobby. And then he recognized my name. And then he said, well, I'm good friends with Armin Buteau. We used to race together. I said, yeah, I know Armin pretty well.
Up in Pittsburgh, New Hampshire.
Sleds that he had, and one thing leads to another. And he said, well, I'd be proud if you would take this thing. I'll sell it to you when I got into it, and you can take it the next step above where it is now. So that's how I acquired these 2 guys here. So,
yeah, that's cool.
They look good in my collection, and happy to have them.
And we're back. Yeah, any reactions to that, gentlemen?
Oh, that's awesome. I did get to see those sleds at our show back in September, and Ray's a great guy, and just phenomenal, beautiful work. I was just amazed at it, and that's what's fun about these shows, is being able to see everybody's sleds, and it doesn't matter what make or model. It brings back the era, and meeting the people and talking to them, the conversation's what's worth it.
Yeah, for sure. And he also mentioned a mutual friend of ours, of the three of ours, Armin Buto.
Yeah, Armin's a great guy. Armin's helped me a lot. He's still helping me a lot with our vintage shows and vintage rides. And just whenever we have a meeting and sit with Armin, it's so much fun to listen to his stories, talking about all this. It'd be great to just sit with all these guys. And
yeah, for sure. If ever you're able to have any influence with him to maybe get him on the podcast, or even do a video with him that we could air on the podcast, I'd love to see that. I've only seen a fraction of his collection, but it's very impressive.
Yeah, maybe I can make it over sometime and do a little bit of video over there by his collection.
That would be amazing if you could pull that off. Yeah. And then Dan, did you have any reactions to what we've been looking at?
Look, I mean, they're absolutely gorgeous snowmobiles. His collection is awesome. What can you say? It's so funny because he had mentioned that the cab that he had on that free air that he converted to a liquid was hideous. And in so many cases you see that kind of stuff. It just reminds me of Yvon Duhamel's 1974 Snow Pro, and there's only one left, owned by the Warnings now. But when Yvon stopped racing in 1976. He opened up a Snowjet dealership in the Laurentians here in the province of Quebec, and he painted that 1974 Snow Pro blue like a Snowjet. And I mean, years later, I think it was 1995 or somewhere around there, they asked him to come to a vintage show in Valcourt, and they had to repaint that snowmobile because it looked hideous. I mean, anyway, yeah.
It's funny, time changes things in a way, because maybe, into the 80s and so forth, people weren't thinking at that point probably that these are going to be collectible, sought after sleds. They were just, old sleds, we don't use it anymore. Let's paint it up and make it, do something crazy with it. And now looking back, all these decades later, it's like, what were you thinking?
Yeah, that's what he told me. He said back in the day, he had his kids, Mario and Miguel de Duhamel, the famous motorcycle racer. They would ride that Snow Pro like it was just an ordinary snowmobile on their farm up in the Laurentians. I mean, imagine that, you're racing a snowmobile like that around the woods, and I mean, anyway.
Bushwhacking and ditch banging.
Yeah.
Wow. That's wild. Now, before we move on to the next part of the program, when we were on item number 2, the announcements, I had intended to give both of you a chance to talk about any upcoming events that you're involved with, because I know you both do vintage snowmobile events. So I wanted to give a chance. I will let Ray go first. Did you want to talk up any events you've got on the horizon?
Sure. I mean, we've got coming up in March. It's the first Saturday in March, which I believe it's March 4th. I don't remember the exact day on the top of my head, but we have another our third annual Great Northwoods Vintage Snowmobile Ride in Pittsburgh, New Hampshire. And we're combining it with what's called the Parade of Lights here in Pittsburgh that we have on a lake. Trying to get the Guinness Book of World Records involved for the most snowmobiles in a parade on a lake, which is a little over 1,000. And I believe they probably had it last year, but now we're going to combine it with a vintage snowmobile ride. Hopefully get some of these vintage sleds out there too for it. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, what an experience that will be.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So we're looking forward to that. And then next year we're going to do another vintage show again, the third Saturday in September. This year was the first one. It was a pretty good turnout, excellent day, and we're looking to maybe. I'd like to talk with Dan at some point about it and see if we could get some of the people from Canada down to this, where we're so close to the border.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great idea. Get more people going back and forth like that.
Yeah.
No, that is a great idea.
For sure. And Dan, did you have any upcoming events you'd like to talk about?
Unfortunately, Ray, I'm leaving on the 5th of March. We're doing a modern snowmobile ride, which is approximately 7 to 8 days. We're doing northern Quebec. We're doing approximately maybe 1,200 miles.
Wow.
Yeah. I'd love to make it to your ride, but the next day again I'm leaving, and it's a 6-hour drive up to Roberval. But we plan on having our snowmobile club, the Vintage Snowmobile Club of the Adirondacks, and I had mentioned before that we're both American and Canadian. We're having a ride in upstate New York, which is in Merrill, New York, right next to Lion Mountain. We haven't chosen a date because every time we choose a date, Mother Nature comes and ruins it for us. So we kind of like, a week in advance we'll announce it and then we'll go for it. And then we have a second run here in Canada around our country place. We're looking at rides that would be between 40 to maybe 50 miles. So we did an Ironman. We called it the Ironman Run in 2017. We left Lion Mountain, New York, crossed the border, and came into Canada. Went back to Lion Mountain via Moores, New York. We did 184 miles in one day on vintage snowmobiles. So we started off, we were 14, we ended up 9 finishing, and I finished on my 1972 640 Nordic. So it was a good day. Yeah, very cool. We have place for 3-4 people if you're interested. I don't know, Mike, you can contact me. My email address is powerscortriver@gmail.com. And so, I mean, if people want to join us, we have room for 3 or 4 people. So
perfect. And that's powersportlover@gmail.com. Did I hear that correctly?
Powersport River. So it's POWERSCOURTRIVER@gmail.com. So
Gotcha. Yeah. So by all means, anyone listening to this, if you're curious about what Daniel is talking about, send him an email and he'll be happy to help you with that, get you the information that you need. We also have some comments coming in. Reese Fleury says he would love to join that ride in Merrill this year. Cool. Yeah, definitely be in touch about that. And David from Alaska Railroad says, Ray, I wish we had events like that. Would love to join on that ride with his TXL. That's right. We got a fellow TX lover in the house.
Well, if he brings that TXL with him, we may not go home with it.
Yeah, for sure. TXs are hard to resist, for sure.
Yeah, they are.
Well, cool deal. So, any final comments on what we've just been talking about before we move on to the next segment of the program?
No.
I'm good.
All right. Good. All right. So the last item we're going to look at, this is an induction ceremony for the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame that happened on September 10th. Anthony Butch Consolini was inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. Let me pull up that video clip here and we'll take a look.
All right, this is Anthony Butch Consolini, inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame 2022. With much early success as an independent racer, Butch began racing in 1968 for the Tri-State Power Sled Team, a Skidoo distributor from Lee, Massachusetts. After making a name for himself in some of the smaller races around the state, Consolini's breakout moment came at the 1970 Massachusetts State Championship, where he took 3rd in B-Stock, 1st in Mod 1, and 1st in Mod 2, making him the overall winner for the prestigious Governor's Cup. Butch grabbed the first place win in Mod 1 at the 1970 High Chaparral races in East Jewett, New York, and kept up his winning ways by winning Mod 1 in both the oval and the cross country, tying him with Bob Martin for the most points at Laconia International in Loudon, New Hampshire. For the 1970, he wound up 3rd in points for the Eastern Division in USSA. In 1971, Butch was unbeaten in Mod 1 at Plainville, Connecticut. At West Springfield, Mass, Consolini led the way in Mod 1 and grabbed the 3rd in Mod 2. He took 1st place in Mod 1 and 3rd in Mod 2 at Monticello, New York. With a 2nd place finish in Mod 1 at Bangor, Maine, Butch continues his winning ways by garnering 1st place in Thompson, Connecticut. After a 2nd place finish in Mod 1 at Barrie, Vermont, Consolini tied with Timberland Machines team captain Bob Fortin for top points in Mod 1 in the Eastern Division of USSA with 78. And we know how Bob Fortin was, and to even tie in points for Bob Fortin back then would have been a tough thing. Driving the new 295 and 340 3-cylinder Blizzards, Butch raced to 5 consecutive wins in Mod 1 at Canton, Connecticut. 1st at Scarborough, Maine, 1st at Bangor, Maine, 1st in both Mod 1 and Mod 2 at Lancaster, grabbing the Kilkenny Cup, and 1st in Mod 1 and Mod 2 at Northampton, Mass. Anthony was a force to be reckoned with in the Mod 1 and Mod 2 classes. He was number 1 in points for the 1972 season in the USSA Eastern Division with 1,812. Due to canceled events of a warm 1973 winter, he still wound up number 1 in points again in Mod 1 with 1,315 points, including a Mod 1 win at the Pennsylvania State Championship. Butch held the top points total 3 years in a row in Mod 1, competing in a class that totaled thousands of active drivers. He wore gold bibs number 20, 12, and 6 during his totally dominating career. And it's just a pleasure, because I remember watching Butch race at Lancaster, and he was one of the best. So Butch, please come on up here.
First, I want to thank everybody for coming. Second, for the committee that has even considered inducting me into this Hall of Fame, which to me is fantastic. To Mr. Crane for building a setup that I can't even believe that you could do it. It's fantastic. Other than that, there are a lot of people that without them, I would have never gotten to where I was or am today. I first bought my first secondhand Ski-Doo from a moto ski dealer in our town named White Ford. Unbeknown to me, he was a boat racer on the Hudson River. Him and I got quite a bond, and when he found out I wanted to try racing, I could not have had a better person to lean on. I ran a couple of times, worked on my sled. There's an inductee here that has worked on my sled, Ronnie Ouimet, him and Bobby Herman. They did some work for me in the earlier days when I was first getting started. Without them, it wouldn't have happened. I went to a couple of races, was very fortunate to do very good, and Mr. Fred LeGrant asked me if I was interested in putting my sled on their tractor trailer. Just about knocked me over. That wasn't even a question that needed to be asked. After that, I worked with them and drove for them. I still took care of my own sled, but Mr. LeGrant had quite an operation at Tri-State Power Sled, the distributor for Bombardier, and he was like family. Him and his wife were like family to myself, my wife, and my family. We traveled around and went to a lot of different places, and I'll tell you, I don't even remember half of these things that they just said. It's been so long ago. But it was great to be inducted, and I really appreciate it. And the only other thing I want to do is thank my family that came today. I was surprised. I didn't know that they were all going to be here. And also to the person that put up with all of this, my wife, who she is sitting over here in the shade because she can't be out in the sun. But to them, I owe an awful lot. And I want to thank everybody for everything. Thank you again.
Thank you, Butch. And if you look at the photo on his plaque, I think he could have been a double for Frankie Avalon. Pretty handsome little Italian right there.
Can your wife come and take a picture?
Sure. All right, Jake.
Okay.
That's right. Right. That's right. Yeah.
If it wasn't for the women, these guys wouldn't be racing.
That's right. Wait a minute, my son's taking one. Did you get it, Mark? Okay. Did you go?
Thank you. Butch Consolini, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, so there you have it. Butch Consolini inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame this past September. And it's true, he was right. His family surprised him and showed up. There must have been 8 or 10 of them. They came, I don't remember where they came in from, but they came in from quite a ways, and he was impressed by it, as was everyone else. It's really, really nice to see. Any thoughts on that, gentlemen?
Yeah, just to hear him, as humble as he was, saying, that he didn't even remember half the stuff. That just shows that he cared about racing. It wasn't, about me. It was just getting out there and competing, and all the other guys that helped him. He couldn't thank him enough. I mean, that's what's great about this sport, and great about the people around it. It's like a huge family. I've enjoyed, when I was younger. I've been away from it for quite a while. Just got back into it a few years ago. And it's such a great feeling.
Yeah, for sure. Any thoughts, Dan?
Well, my hat is off to Mr. Crane and the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame for the excellent job that they've been doing, recognizing racers that should have been inducted in the Hall of Fame in Saint Germain. I'll give you an example. Ron Hall, who was an amazing racer and who is in Arctic Cat's 50th anniversary book, who was recognized as being one of the greatest independent racers of the day, is not even in the Hall of Fame in Saint Germain. And I thank Mr. Crane and the Eastern Hall of Fame for inducting such a person like Mr. Hall, who deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. It's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And and it's true. I've gotten to know Ron Hall over the years because he was inducted 2 or 3 years ago, and of course he comes to the each induction ceremony because to build on what Ray was saying, it's become a community and it's almost a reunion type of environment. Everyone gets together and looks forward to seeing each other each year. It's just a wonderful way to see these people that, I was just a kid in those days, but these were people who were racing 50 years ago, and to still have contact with them and socialize with them. And I tell you, there are a lot of smiles and a lot of laughing going on, and a lot of stories being swapped and tall tales too, I'm sure. But it's just a wonderful time. It's more than just awards being given out. It's a community now. It's a wonderful experience.
That's for sure.
I mean, I was supposed to go in 2020, 21, but because of COVID, I wasn't able to go. But I sure like to be able to assist and to go to one of the inductions one day. So.
Yeah, for sure. We'd love it if you can make it to the next one. It's usually the second Saturday in September. In fact, let me pull up a calendar here. I can probably tell you with pretty good accuracy. It's probably going to be September 9th. I need to confirm with Midge and Paul to make sure that that's the date. But you can pencil that in at least as to when that might be. And as I have better information, I'll confirm that on the podcast. But that is pretty much all we have tonight. I thank both of you for coming on. I also thank the viewers for being here, making this podcast what it is. We could not do it without you. And we had another comment that came in. Let me pull that up. Someone, I bet that's Bruce Borvars confirming the September 9th is the date. Also, David from Alaska Railroad says, great show, gentlemen. We thank you so much for that. And Darren Lumby says, thanks again, guys. See you next week. We will look forward to that. And one more comment. Josh Leverker's in the house. I had the opportunity of meeting Ron Hall at the sled show in Turin this past year. Great guy. Absolutely. I echo that completely. In fact, when he was in Lancaster for the Hall of Fame, a bunch of us had a chance to go out to breakfast, and I had a chance to sit with him and his wife and a whole, I think there were 8 or 10 of us there all in a big circle at a table visiting. Had a wonderful time. Yeah, good times. But that is all we have for tonight. As always, we give the last word to Amsoil. Let me cue up that Amsoil video. And thanks again, gentlemen, for coming on. And thank you also to the viewers. Merry Christmas also to one and all.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Dan. Great seeing you guys again.
Likewise, and Merry Christmas to everyone as well. Happy New Year.
Whoops, that was wrong video. Good night. This time we're really leaving.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
Hello, everyone. This is Rob and Mike. How you doing today, Rob?
I'm doing good. Mike, yourself?
Very well. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Now, today we're going to be talking about Amsoil. And in a few moments, we're going to show you how you can get the deepest discounts, free shipping, and free gifts when you order your Amsoil products through us. But first, I'm going to ask Rob to give you a quick description of what Amsoil is and why you should consider using Amsoil products in your motorized vehicles.
Thanks, Mike. Amsoil is 100% synthetic oil. Everybody uses Amsoil for a different reason. Some people like the benefits that Amsoil is warranted for 25,000 miles or 1 year. The reason we can do that is because Amsoil doesn't oxidize. It doesn't form the usual carbons, gums, sludges like petroleum oils do. That's why we can keep it in the engines longer. Petroleum oils never do wear out. They oxidize themselves. That's why they have to be changed at 3,000 kilometers. And Amsoil likes the benefit that you only have to change the oil once a year. That saves some money. Some of the people like the benefit of Amsoil is it's a slipperier type lube. By having a slipperier type lube, it cuts down friction and drag. By less friction and drag, engines run 20 to 50 degrees cooler, better gas mileage. Now, AMSOIL says 25% more protection than the industry requires is in the AMSOIL bottles. My average customer gets about 10% increase in gas mileage. That's a big savings.
Yeah.
And by cutting down friction and drag, for every 10 degrees you cut down the friction and drag, doubles the life of the engine. So by having the engine run cooler, it makes it last longer. Some people like the benefit of the range of the AMSOIL. AMSOIL's flash point is 425 degrees, and it pours at 50 below zero.
Wow.
If you ever try petroleum oil when it's 10 below, it turns to honey. And in the summertime, petroleum oil thins out, and once it thins out, that's when it starts breaking down. So AMSOIL's an all-season oil, can give you better gas mileage, longer engine life, less maintenance. It ends up being cheaper over a year's time running AMSOIL than it is petroleum oils.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And AMSOIL is available for pretty much any motorized vehicle, anything from lawn equipment, cars, trucks, boats, ATVs, motorcycles, snowmobiles.
Yep. And a lot of people phone me up and say, well, what's the benefit of our gear loop? Exactly what I told you about the engine oil. It pours in cold weather, it runs cooler, makes the equipment last longer. And they say, well, what's the benefit of the small engine? Same thing. Makes the engine run cooler, last longer, better performance. So it saves on all the applications that AMSOIL has available.
Wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, let's talk now. Hopefully this has convinced people to think about maybe joining us in the AMSOIL experience. Let's talk about some of the discounts and free shipping and how that all happens. I'm going to pop a graphic on the screen. And yeah, by all means, if you want to talk people through how this preferred customer program works.
AMSOIL has a number of different programs. One of our main ones is a catalog customer, where somebody can order directly out of our catalog. If they order out of the catalog, they order $100 worth, AMSOIL will ship it right to their house. But our best program is our preferred customer. For only $10 for 6 months, you become a preferred customer, you save 25% on all the product. You order $100 worth, they're going to give you free shipping. You don't have to order a whole case. You can mix and match. Say you want 4 bottles of small engine, 7 bottles of 5W30, and a couple of gear loops. You can mix and match. You can order 1 bottle at a time if you want. There's no minimums, no maximums. By being a preferred customer, you save over 25% on all the products you're going to buy. AMSOIL sends you extra gifts, a $5 gift certificate on your birthday, $5 when you renew your account and stuff like that. So it's a good way to save on some of the products you want to buy.
For sure. Yeah, it's an incredible value. And this is the deepest level of discount that anyone can get when ordering AMSOIL. Is that correct?
It is.
Wonderful. So let's take people through the step-by-step experience of placing an AMSOIL order. Then that would include signing up for the preferred customer preferred customer program, so they can receive those deepest levels of discount. So let's go to the website. This is what the website's going to look like. These are some screenshots. Once you go to amsoil.com, there's a link in the description, or you can just type that into a browser, amsoil.com. This is the page you land on. At the upper corner of the page there, you see how I've circled in red. That is the link to click, the Join Now link. That will take you to the Preferred Customer Program page, where you can take advantage of all of these discounts and free shipping and everything that we've just been talking about. This is what that page looks like. In the lower right, you're going to click Join Now. This will pop up. You select the duration you'd like, whether it's 6 months or 12 months, and click Add to Cart. Now, once this pop-up goes away, you'll be back on the main page. And the upper left, you'll see where I've got that red arrow. It says Shop. Now you can start shopping for products, and on your very first order, you're going to get these discounts and the free shipping as long as it's over $100. You'll get all of these benefits right away. So once you click Shop, it's going to take you to the product page. There's different types of oils, lubricants, so on and so forth. For the benefit of this exercise we're doing now, I'm just going to click motor oil. It shows different types of motor oil. Let's click gasoline. Now this takes us to an item. It's their synthetic motor oil. And you can see the item there, and there's choices for different viscosities. But take a look at the price. Let's take a closer look. Let's zoom in. But if you've joined the preferred customer program first, you're going to automatically get the deepest levels of discount. That's what we're looking at here. You're saving $3.80 on that quart of oil. Instead of paying $16.29, you're now paying $12.49 for that quart of oil. That is the deepest level of discount you can possibly get. And then you just add the quantity that you'd like. You select any other items that you're thinking about, add them to the cart. And once you click Add to Cart for the final time, you're going to see this come up at the top of the screen. It's going to show your items and your the total that you're at so far. Pardon me. And then you just click View Cart in the upper right, and that'll take you to your cart. Take a close look here at the upper right. That blue box shows that you're getting free shipping. You're eligible for free shipping on this order because it's over $100. That little yellow box shows that you've got the preferred customer membership on your order. That gives you the deepest levels of discounts for the next 6 to 12 months. And then below that, you've got the items that have been selected. For the exercise here, I selected 9 quarts of the signature series, but that brings us up over $100 for the free shipping. We're saving $34.20. And if you're ready to finish, you click Checkout Now, and that takes you to this screen here. If you haven't signed up with an AMSOIL account at this point, just click in the lower right to create an account, create a new account. It's going to ask you for some basic information, name, and those types of things. Now let's take a closer look. You'll see this gray shaded box. This is a very important box. This is going to ask you if someone has referred you to AMSOIL. And if so, please enter my name. My name is Mike LaPierre. It's spelled right there on the screen for the correct spelling. And also the referral number, 304-555-94. That's how you make sure that Rob and I get credit for this. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I have signed up for AMSOIL under Rob. So when you order using this referral number, Rob and I both benefit. So if you enjoy these podcasts that we're doing, this is a wonderful way to support the podcast, because when you order using this referral number, Rob and I both benefit, and the commissions I make go directly toward offsetting the cost of doing these podcasts. So I thank you in advance for that, for using my referral number. I very much appreciate it. And once you've done that, you just go into the next screen to enter your payment information, and you're done. Now, once you've placed your order that's over $100, and that order includes your AMSOIL Preferred Customer Program, you are now eligible to get a free DVD from myself. Now, this is going to be either a muscle car DVD or a vintage snowmobile DVD. Use the email address on the screen, wkspodcasts@gmail.com. Send me an email. Let me know which DVD you would like me to send you, the muscle car or the vintage snowmobile DVD, and I'll get that right out to you. As you're typing in that email, in the subject line, be sure and type in capital letters, free DVD requests, so it stands out as I'm checking my email, and we'll get that right out to you. So I guess the last thing, Rob, that we wanted to talk about is if someone is considering AMSOIL as a business opportunity.
Yes. If anybody has a retail or a commercial account and they would like to buy directly from AMSOIL, just send Mike a line. He'll show you how to set up, and you can buy directly from AMSOIL. But if you are interested in starting your own part-time business, a part-time business that can grow into a full-time income, Mike and I will show you the AMSOIL marketing plan. AMSOIL has a large selection of products that cover almost every application. So it doesn't matter if you're into snowmobile, boating, or ATVing, or hot rods. We have an oil for every application. It's a fun type business. That's I really enjoy doing. Where else can I go and have fun and make money doing it? And Mike and I are here to help you all the way along. If you need any help on how to promote or to find new accounts, we're here to help you.
For sure. So when you sign up under that number, this 304-555-94, you're getting Rob and I as a team. Now, Rob has been doing AMSOIL for 40 years. Can you believe that? 40 years. So he knows every aspect of this business, and he knows all of the ins and outs of the products. So he'll be able to help you with any kind of product questions or any kind of questions to show you the different business models that you can do with AMSOIL. And then the other thing that you get when you sign up under me is I've got a strong background in social media. So if you need some coaching on how to generate AMSOIL leads using Facebook and YouTube, I'm happy to coach you with that when you sign up under Rob and I. You get both of us as a team to help you, to coach you, to support you, whatever you need to get you off and running with this business and having fun with it. Like Rob said, it's an enormous amount of fun. If you're like Rob and I and you enjoy going to any kind of boat shows, car shows, motorcycle shows, snowmobile shows, anything with a motor, you like going to those shows, those events, those races, this is a great way to turn that into a income opportunity for you.
Yes. And just by wearing my AMSOIL hat at one of these events, people come up and ask me about AMSOIL. People don't know where to buy it, and I'm there to help them, show them where they can buy the product.
Perfect. Well, cool. Well, this is great. Any final thoughts, Rob, before we wrap it up?
AMSOIL's a fun business. AMSOIL's been around since 1968. It was the first synthetic oil to be AI approved.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's very early in the game too, isn't it?
Yes.
For sure. Well, good. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for viewing. Hopefully, we've gotten you excited as we are about the AMSOIL products. We'd love it if you could join us either as someone who uses the AMSOIL products or to join the AMSOIL team as a business opportunity. And we thank you so much for viewing. Have a great day.
You have a good day.